Good afternoon. My name is Bobby Gray, and I'm here with my colleague,
Tina Queen.
and we're both from the FDIC, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. We know that you are familiar with the FDIC, which was founded in 1933 as an independent agency whose primary mission was ensuring safety and soundness in the financial regulatory system, ensuring public confidence in the banking system. Also, consumer protection. FDIC receives consumer complaints and resolves assets when a bank fails. Today, Tina and I are joining you from Washington, D.C. in our headquarters office, but we also have colleagues around the country. We have 6 regional offices: San Francisco, Kansas City, Chicago, New York, Atlanta. We have 2 area offices, one in Memphis and one in Boston. So they will also be your local contacts. We can help you with your training here from Washington, but they are also in your local communities. Many of you may be working with them already. So, why is the FDIC involved in financial education? Every 2 years, FDIC has been tasked with conducting a unbanked household survey, unbanked and underbanked. It's Congress is a requirement from Congress. So this year we learned that 25% of U.S. households are unbanked, meaning that people don't have a relationship with a financial institution at all, whether it be bank or credit union. And then we have individuals who are underbanked, meaning that Bobby Gray may have a bank account because I'm a federal employee and my check is deposited every 2 weeks, but I may still be going to using alternative financial services or buying a money order to pay my bills. And then people are still recovering from the recession. So FDIC created its Money Smart curriculum in 2001 as a tool to educate, because if we provide people with education, then that can help them make sound financial decisions for themselves. So today, Tina and I are going to give you an overview of our newly released 2018 version of Money Smart for Adults. So remember, I said the first version was released in 2001. It was a major update in 2010. And so now here we are releasing this 2018 version. We're excited and we hope you will as well. Next, we'll talk about how to use the curriculum in your trainings. Maybe you're going to host a lunch and learn and you want to talk to employees about credit or debt. We have a new guide to presenting, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about how to connect with the FDIC and some of the resources that we have available. The purpose of today's webcast is to share information with you so that you can deliver training to your diverse audiences and some tips around making it engaging and effective. So, who uses Money Smart for Adults? As you can see, there's a variety of organizations because collaboration is key for us, and today we realize that all of us work for federal agencies. So, but we can also collaborate with financial institutions, for example. You may have a guest speaker come in, not to sell a product, but to talk about what are lenders looking for if you are conducting a webinar on credit, for example. So, Tina is going to give you an introduction to Money Smart.
Thanks, Bobby. Money Smart is a comprehensive financial education program. FDIC developed Money Smart for the low and moderate income consumers in hopes that they will make better banking decisions, engage in getting a bank account, and also so that they will use more services, as Bobby mentioned about the underbank, that they would use more of the services available to them once they have entered the banking mainstream. We have Money Smart products to teach others. For example, we have the Money Smart for young people, pre-K grade to 12. Money Smart for young adults, ages 12 to 20. Money Smart for adults, which we'll elaborate a little bit more on today. Money Smart for small business. Now, Money Smart for small business are for entrepreneurs that may not have the funding to go out and take a class, and they really need to understand how to set up their small businesses, or they've already set up their small businesses and they may have made some mistakes in setting them up, or they just need some additional information. FDIC created Money Smart for small business with the Small Business Administration. And then we have Money Smart for older adults, which is in English and Spanish. All of these are downloadable right to your desktop. Then we have products for those of you who want to do self-paced learning or learn on your own. Our first product for that is the computer-based instruction product, which is the CBI. We will, in 2019 or 20, we are working on a new CBI product. Our current product is related to our 2001 and 2010 modules, and we have a two-track system. There's an adult track and a young adult track. And each of these tracks share modules that you can go through, and then you'll have an assessment. At the end of the assessment, you can receive a certificate of completion, and that certificate just says you completed a module. Our Money Smart Podcast Network, also known as the MP3, is what we call your Money Smart on the go. That's for those people who, they just don't have time to sit at a computer for a while, but they may take public transportation, or they can do it, they can listen to those podcasts when they exercise. We are, just as Bobby mentioned, really excited about our new version of Money Smart for adults, okay? Again, this is our third update. We've tested it twice. We've already received great reviews since our release on November the 14th. And with that release, we've sent out a field and a press release. We can be reached, or you can find more about these products at www.fdic.gov/Money Smart. And Money Smart is one word. So you would say Money Smart has been around for over 15 years. Why change it? Why mess with something that is working? So our rationale for that change is new topics come up in the industry, new financial terms, new laws. So we want to make sure that we are current in the information that we are providing, and we add the new topics that are needed. We also want to make sure those of you that train with our resources that you have a variety of techniques and resources to use when you're doing your training. And finally, graphics. We wanted to give it a fresh look. We wanted to make sure it's innovative and it catches anyone's eye and is relatable to current economy and current financial situations. So Bobby's going to give you the overview of our newest Money Smart for adults.
Thank you. So, the purpose of Money Smart for adults, again, is to provide attendees with practical knowledge and resources, helping them to manage their finances. And for those without a banking relationships, moving toward one. And for those of us like myself, as I mentioned, giving yourself a financial checkup, making sure the relationship that you have with your financial institution is the one that's still correct for you. I have an account that I've had since I was a child, for example. So is that account still meeting my needs. But there are resources here, even though, as Tina mentioned, it was developed maybe for those outside the financial mainstream. For those of us who feel we're financially savvy, there's things here for everyone. So, again, we have a variety of employees that we're working with. We're all in different stages. We have students, we have those who may be almost ready for retirement, we have those mid-career, we have those who are just early starting out. So we're at all different financial stages, so the curriculum can be adapted for the needs of your audiences. So whether they're at the beginning stages or whether you just need to learn some additional information or refresh yourself about consumer protection laws.
Yeah.
So here are the 14 topics of the Money Smart. Tina's going to take a deeper dive, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time. But as you can see, there are 14. Our previous version had 11. Module 1 is brand new. It talks about your money values and what influences our financial decisions all the way through financial disasters. Each of the 14 modules has sections, and it depends on the module, the number of sections. They range from 2 to 7. Each section, as you see, will cover a specific topic. And for example, the Module 1 that I just mentioned, it has 3 sections: values in money, goals in money, and what external influences affect your financial decisions. Each section has a key takeaway, and these are all new to the curriculum. A key takeaway captures the main message in one or a few sentences, and you'll be able to see some examples as we go through further. And this one is from Module 3, your income and expenses. It tells you, the table tells you which section. You can see there are 2 sections. The key takeaway, for example, for income, which is section 1, it says, understand your income. This is the first step to using it to meet your needs. So a key takeaway will be found in the beginning of a module in the participant guide and instructor guide, and it'll be a reminder again at the end.
So Module 1 is your money, values, and influences. And in this module, the participants will get an opportunity to understand what values are and how different values can influence your financial decisions. As Bobby mentioned, each one of these modules is going to have sections. And so Section 1 for Module 1 is values and money. And so you'll talk about in this section aligning behavior with your values. In Section 2, goals and money, setting SMART goals. That's something that we adapted from our previous curriculum, and we love it, Bobby. From time to time, we talk about just in daily work things. What's your goals for next year? How you plan to accomplish it? And so that's the same thing when you want to consider when you're thinking about your goals as far as how you plan to spend your money or save your money. Section 3 for Module 1 is external influences. What influences you on how you spend money? So that's something that we will talk about in Section 3. Also, understanding that social pressures and advertising, they are great things that can influence how one spends money as well. So Module 2 is you can bank on it, and that covers your banking facilities. It covers different services, and it's designed to help those who are seeking a relationship with a bank to build a great relationship if they're not using all the resources that I mentioned earlier in the institution that they decide, whether it's a credit union or a bank. In that section is section 1 is financial products, services, and providers. And you'll find things like what other financial service providers that are available. And we're talking about those good ones, not those ones like payday lending or those external bank cashing locations. We want to provide you with external other financial services that can be helpful. How do you access services? And finally, a little bit more about what FDIC regulates, and that's the deposit insurance. Section 2 mentions the opening an account. You know, which account is right for you? What's a good account for you? Each of us may not have the same needs, or your needs may change as you get older, your family changes, your financial situation changes. So Section 2 talks about savings and checking accounts, and how does your banking history follow you? What's reported on you when you go to open a new checking account? Also in Module 3, Section 3, managing your account. And then Section 4 is prepaid cards, kinds of prepaid cards, and tips for using them if you ever have the opportunity to use them. Module 3 is your income and expenses. How can we not understand how to save if we aren't sure what income and expenses are? So Module 3 helps people understand what income is. Income is money coming in. Your expenses is money going out. So our sections, Section 1 is income, okay? And what do you know about your income? How to understand your pay statements. Section 2, expenses. Tracking your expenses and managing your expenses can be found there. Module 4, your spending and saving plan. Okay, so we've explained to you what an income is, what expenses is. Now, Module 4 helps you understand how to develop a spending and saving plan using the concepts provided in Module 3. Section 1 for Module 4 is making a monthly spending and saving plan. And that talks about increasing income and making adjustments. I know myself, I may make a plan and I may say, I want to do this, I want to save this amount for 6 months. Well, I may have to readjust that plan and it's not working, or something comes up and I'm not able to save for 6 months. So this section tells you how to make the adjustment and how you'll know when you need to make the adjustment. Section 2, when money is short, and you never had that happen. We've all never had money being short, and you can pay everything on time, but we prepare you for that. And just in case you come upon a time that money is short, what do you do when money is short? And what's your priority when the money is short? That can be found in Section 2 of Module 4, when money is short. So up to Module 5, the title for that module is Your Savings, okay? And that also helps participants think about how to save for large purchases and unexpected expenses. Again, something that never happens to any of us. Things don't happen, and we don't have things that come up that we didn't expect. And if I could reach out there, I wonder how many people can say, hey, Tina, that does happen to me. So Module 5, the Section 1 is what is savings? It gives you a definition of what savings is and why saving is important for Section 1. Section 2, where to build your savings. And it just talks about advantages and disadvantages of saving options, the variety of options that may be at your financial institution. Another section for Module 5 is saving for unexpected expenses, and that's Section 3. Section 4 is saving for your goals. Again, re-emphasizing those SMART goals that I mentioned earlier, and large expenses. Section 5 for that module is saving and public benefits, assets and income limits, for public benefits, and also special accounts and public benefits. And that's for people who may be on a specific income that they aren't able to do the maybe normal things that some others do. You have people with disabilities or people who they don't handle their own account. Someone else may be handling it. Module 6, the title for that module is Credit Reports and Scores. How many of us know that it is important to understand your credit report and know what your scores are? So this module helps participants understand access and improve their credit reports and scores. And how would they do that? Okay, Section 1 talks about your credit reports. What is a credit report? That's the first thing you want to understand. Who uses credit reports and scores, and how to opt out. Those are some of the things you can find in Section 1. And Section 2 talks about your credit scores, the basis of a credit score, and what is considered good credit. You can find those things in Section 2 of Module 6. Also, Section 3 of Module 6 is getting and understanding your credit reports and scores. Similar to just taking time out, going to the credit bureaus, and finding out what's on your credit report. So this is going to help you with getting that information. So once you get that information, Section 4 helps you with disputing the errors you may find on those credit reports and how to dispute them. And then finally, Section 5. What if I find my credit is not so good? Build, repair, maintain a productive credit history. Section 5 gives you information on how to rebuild and repair. Now, Module 7 is borrowing basics. We did have a borrowing basics module in our previous curriculum, and it helps participants understand options for borrowing money and what they cost. Section 1 for Module 7 is ways to borrow money and what it costs, types of loans, and the cost of borrowing. Section 2 is preparing to apply for a loan. There are factors that you need to understand that lenders are looking for when they determine if you are credit worthy. So also understanding what co-borrowing and co-signing means and how liability is with those two. Section 3, borrowing when someone else helps you manage your money. I mentioned that on the previous slide. Sometimes others have someone else who takes over their financial statements, or they do their bills, they pay their bills, and they check on their bank accounts. So how do you borrow money that way when you aren't in control of your finances? So we discuss in this section responsibilities of the person helping you and what to do if you do decide to borrow money. Now, Module 8 is managing debt. This helps participants understand what debt is. So in Section 1, they talk about what is debt. They give you an explanation and how can debt affect your financial situation. Section 2, how debt works. They give you lingo, the words that you should be familiar with, that when you go to borrow or you have debt, and when you're talking to someone at your financial institution, words they may use. Section 3 is reducing debt. This gives you 2 strategies for reducing your debt. Also in Module 8, and Bobby did mention that some of our modules may have 2 sections, some of them may have 4 sections. Module 8 has 7 sections, and I will just go through the rest of them real briefly. Section 4 is non-payment of debts and debts in collection, so you'll find out things about that in Section 4. Section 5 is dealing with student debt loan, and we hear a lot about student loan debt in the news all the time. So this would be helpful if you have student loan debt, and this will be helpful if you don't in case in the future you have the opportunity and you need to borrow. And Section 6 is managing medical debt. Some of us have problems with getting loans because we have medical debt. This section we felt that we needed to include. It wasn't in our previous curriculum, but we felt that this was just as important as dealing with student debt. So this is a section in managing your debt, Module 8. And finally, Section 7 is understanding high-cost debt. And what is high-cost debt? What does that mean? Module 9 is using credit cards. And I think that used to be to your credit in our previous curriculum. And this helps participants understand how credit cards work and how to manage it. Section 1 for this module is how credit cards work. Talks about rates, fees, important terms. What's the difference between an unsecured and a secured credit card? And then finally for this one, Section 2, managing your credit card. Reading a credit card statement and steps for managing your credit card. Module 10. Module 10 is building your financial future. Wow. That's a lot of big words. Building your financial future. Really important, because if you don't start building those building blocks of your future, you won't be prepared for those financial decisions that you may have to make unexpectedly. So this module creates a plan to build assets for a solid financial future. And a key word here is the word solid. You want to do the best you can to have a solid plan in place. So Section 1 for this one is assets and asset building. Section 2 is how assets create a financial foundation, and this talks about net worth and how you can increase your net worth. Section 3, cars as assets. Some people don't understand that cars are assets, and they're good asset. And so this talks about tips for getting a car loan. Section 4, training and education as assets. So Module 11, protecting your identity and other assets. Very, very important module. We hear about breaches all the time with different companies we may order online. Government agencies have been affected by breaches. So Module 11 helps participants understand how to protect their identity and other assets. Section 1 of this module talks about risks to your assets. Section 2, how to identify theft and fraud. Section 3, insurance and record keeping. And in this new area of our modules, we talk about how insurance works, how to get insurance, and how to keep accurate records. So Module 12, making housing decisions. Just helps you explore whether you're ready to purchase a house, rent a house, or just make housing decisions. Section 1, what are my options? You do have options. This helps you explore what's the best option for you. Is renting your best option or buying your best option? Section 2, what can you afford? Some of us don't think about certain things that change when you're renting and when you're buying. You may start to rent a property and you're paying $500 a month, and you know what your utilities are. But have you taken time out to think about, well, if I stay another year, what if the landlord decides they want to go up $100? Or if we have a severe weather one year and my utilities are higher than I expected, you need to consider those things. So this module will help you consider those things. Can you afford to rent, or can you afford to buy? Section 3, what's next if I decide to rent? Do you need to get renter's insurance? Why is renter's insurance important for you? Just you to have for your personal property, although the person you're renting from may also have insurance, but you need it for your personal property as well. Module 13, buying a home. Helps participants get ready to own a home. finance the purchase, and move forward with buying a home. So this talks about all the things you need and how to prepare yourself so that you won't be blindsided when you go into this. Sometimes your realtor may not share everything that you need to know when you consider buying a home. So this module is very helpful. I myself have taken time out to look at things in this module so that I am prepared to buy a new home. Section 1 of this module is getting ready to own your own home. Section 2 is financing a home purchase. What types of loans are available for you? What types of loans, what types of mortgages, how mortgages work. Sometimes we forget about home insurance, your taxes, your property taxes. You have to get that included in your loan when you decide sometimes. How to get pre-qualified and how to get pre-approved. Section 2 will provide that information. And Section 3, getting help and buying your home. Just putting everything together as a team and finding a home, making an offer. When you decide and you find that home you just have to have and it fits everything, how do you make an offer? What steps included with that? And then finally, with this section, closing on a home. I found that was very interesting when I perused this module. And last but not least is Module 14, disasters. Because we don't have those in our lives, do we? I think FDIC, when we did the previous curriculum, Module 11 was financial recovery. And I think that module, if I'm not mistaken, Bobby, was created based on the Katrina disaster and people trying to pull things together. So we thought that would be something that people needed to understand and know that disasters come. So we wanted to help people to be prepared for them and to also have the opportunity to rebuild from the disaster. So this module helps participants financially prepare and recover from disasters. Section 1, preparing financially for disasters. Have all those things I just mentioned briefly. And then Section 2, recovering financially from the disasters. Be proactive. Don't be afraid to get help. It talks about watching out for scams because they know that people are in a really, really delicate position when they're trying to recover. So we thought that this was worth letting people know that there are scams out there. So these are our 14 modules. I hope that you find that there's a module or two in there that can be useful in your training and the different sections. I hope that's a good new look for our curriculum. And if we have any questions right now, we can open up for questions.
Okay, I have a question. Someone is asking about the information, how they find the modules online, or if you're going to mail out the slides for the presentation today.
So we will provide you, and I think I read the website earlier, but we will provide you the website later in the broadcast as well. And all of this curriculum, when you go to our Money Smart website, can be downloaded directly to your desktop. And then we also can provide the slides for this presentation through the host of this webcast.
Okay. I have another question. Someone's asking if you think it's a good idea for an agency to use this information for a 1-hour lunch and learn session.
Absolutely. When we go further into the presentation, we have a new tool that we use, and that would be great for something such as a lunch and learn. Definitely, and we've actually presented ourselves on lunch and learns for different agencies several times.
Okay. That's all the questions I have so far.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So, moving forward, I'm going to talk to you about how the curriculum is laid out. So as you begin to think about that lunch and learn, everything that's included for you to get started with your workshop. So every module is set up exactly the same way. There are 3 components in each module. Tina talked about 14 topics. Those 14 topics do not have to be taught in order. You can, as we go further into how the modules are set up, you can look at the topics at a glance and see how you can pull from different modules for your workshop. So everything you need to teach is there. It's free, it's not copyrighted, so you're able to adapt for the needs of your audience. You have first on is the participant guide. The middle is a copy of the instructor guide. So I want you to take a look. There's a difference in the way that they look. I would advise that you become very familiar with the instructor guide so that you're able to see it's fully scripted. But the participants will not have that scripting. And so as you begin to pull from the resources, take a look at what the participant has and what's in the instructor guide. And then finally, you have your PowerPoint slide presentations. And then again, they can be adapted for the needs of your audience. So before we take another look, let's talk about some of the other things that are new. I think we've mentioned a lot of them. There are some new topics. As I mentioned, a full section on debt is new. Module 1 is brand new. There's expanded content in about working with people with disabilities in the savings module related to the achieving a better life experience or ABLE accounts. There are our activities that we call try it exercises and scenarios. So making the activities engaging. So as you are putting your workshop together, you can just pull these out and have your attendees try them while they're in your workshop. They can work individually on some or maybe work together. Then there's the apply it activities. Those are the ones that you may not, depending on your time, if it's a lunch and learn, it may only be an hour, or maybe you're doing a series. So some of the apply it's, you can have attendees try it at home. And then one section that's brand new that I really like is take an action. So what action are you going to take based on the information that you learned today and the try it activities that we've done? We're now calling our pre and post training surveys and not tests, because a lot of times if we say a pre-test or a post-test, it could put people in a place where they're like, oh, I don't want to take a test. But it's a survey, and this you can use as an icebreaker or just a way of assessing like how much your audience knows about this topic. If you can reach out to them in advance, these may be questions you may be able to put out there. I mentioned module at a glance table. It was formerly, for those of you that may be familiar with the previous edition, it was called a layering table. And then there's a section called Understanding the Icons, and I'll show you those now. So, as many of you have probably presented, whether it's a one-on-one setting as you're talking to individuals or in a large group or making a presentation virtually like we're doing today, there are various methods, and I'm sure we each have some of our favorites. But Tina talked about renting versus buying. And I had the opportunity to participate where the instructor had us debate. It was like one side of the room talked about advantages and benefits of renting, and then the other side talked about advantages and benefits of purchasing. So these are ways that you can also engage your audience. And so these activities, there are suggestions on how you can facilitate the activity using these methods. But of course, use what's comfortable for you. This curriculum is designed to meet the requirements for accessibility. So for example, those who must use a screen reader, they're able to learn the lessons and participate in the activity. We have a guide to presenting. Tina will go into that on how to modify activities so that everyone can participate. And then there are examples that are relevant for those of us who are working with people with disabilities. And in addition, we have a financial inclusion supplemental tool that Tina will mention. So let's take a look at an example of the first page of a section in the participant guide. So we're going to talk about the participant guide first. And remember, earlier on, I said each module has sections. And as Tina was talking about the modules in depth, she talked about those sections. So Module 1, Section 1, Values and Money. And so the instructions say, we will discuss values, what they are, why they are important, and how they influence financial decisions. And as you can see, there's the key takeaway. Understanding your values will help you set achievable financial goals. And so this, again, is a apply it activity. So what you're asking your attendees to do is to think about their values. Your values are the people, things, and places that are important to you and guide how you make decisions. And so you will have your attendees apply it around their values. Then next we have the example of a scenario. All scenarios will have a circle. It's still a try it activity, but it is a scenario. And I would like to have Tina read the scenario real quick if she has time.
Okay, so these old eyes of mine are going to try to do this. Okay, so the scenario is Valentina put herself through college by working 30 hours a week on top of a full course load. She has some student loans. Her mother is struggling to make ends meet. Valentina would like to give her mother most of their tax refund, to use as a security deposit to move into a new apartment. She wants to use the rest to continue paying down her student loan debt. Isaiah's parents helped him with a college expenses with money they saved over the years. He graduated with minimal loans and paid them in full a few years before he and Valentina met. He would like to put most of their tax refund, told you these eyes, tax refund into the savings account they set up for their 3 children. He wants to use the rest to take a family vacation, and he wants to spend quality time with his family.
Okay, thank you, Tina.
Okay.
So how many of us find ourselves in that situation, that we're getting ready to make a financial decision, and this one is around Isaiah and Valentina deciding how to spend their tax refund, and the two people have different ideas on how this money should be spent. And so while the scenarios are designed to give attendees relevant examples of how our values influence the way that we make our financial decisions, you could have them, attendees, work, maybe just pair with the person next to them to talk about what values are influencing Valentina and what values are influencing Isaiah. And this can also have them begin to think about, as they're making their financial decisions, what else in their lives are influencing the decisions that they make financially. Okay, and so remember I talked about those key takeaways. So it's going to be found at the beginning of the module and at the end. So this one, for example, talks about your credit history does not have to be your credit future. So This could be found in Module 6 that Tina talked about when she talked about credit. And so, for example, I've suffered a financial setback before, and my credit score suffered as a outcome of that. But it took some time, but I was able to rebuild my credit. So if you're thinking, oh, my credit history, my score is low, and I have too much debt, there's help,
Right.
and you can rebuild.
Right.
So this key takeaway with the activities and the handouts of Module 6, I'm telling you, you're going to love them. Pulling the credit report sometimes is not as bad as we think, but it doesn't have to be your credit future. Okay, so here's another example of an apply it. This is section 1. And again, so this one talks about renting versus buying. And so there's a question for the attendee. How long do you think you may be staying in the area? Things for them, they can write their answer, and then some things for them to think about. Okay. Then next we move to the instructor guide. So this is the example of navigating how the instructor guide looks different from the participant guide. So in the left-hand column, you're going to find, as I mentioned, your scripting. You will see that this talks about how long it should take to approximately present this information. This is section 2 of credit scores. It says introduction to section and key takeaway, which we were just talking about. It also tells you to see page 11 of the participant guide. And then you have say, so it's telling you to take an action. We will discuss credit scores. And then if you look in the right-hand column, these are the slides that you're going to be on. And so you will be showing slide 16 as you talk about telling the participant to go to page 11, or perhaps you've printed out this section, and then you will be on slide 16. And then as you go down to the bottom of the page, you begin to present information, and it says that it should take about 12 minutes. And then you go into the basics of credit scoring. I talked about understanding the icons. So here's the table in the instructor guide that helps you quickly navigate the training. So you have your do. You're going to take an action. It's going to share information. So that's your say. And then you have your question mark. So do, say, ask. Again, the key takeaways have a star. You have leading a discussion where you'll be the facilitator, leading activities, presenting, taking action, and closing. You're going to help what action am I going to take so that they can apply what they've learned. And then you have finally the book where you have, you use a short story to start a discussion or activity about that financial topic. The module tables, again, I mentioned, modules don't have to be taught in order. You can take the module tables and decide, what am I going to talk about at this session? Perhaps it's going to be credit reports. I can go to that module, look at the entire module, and see what each section covers. And then I can decide, this is what I'm going to talk about today. We have your PowerPoint slides. They can be adapted for the needs of your audience. It's a clear visual aid. It will be referenced in the instructor guide, as I mentioned. On this continued page, you can see how they correlate with each other. The instructor guide is going to tell you which slide to show. You will have that slide up. And then you will also be able to tell the participants where they should be looking in their participant guide. Getting the most, maximizing these pre- and post-training surveys. Again, you can give them out as an icebreaker or at the beginning of your session. Post-session, you can find out what people learned, We also include an answer key, and then at the very end of the post-training survey, you can collect information about your training session. And this way, if there are things that we may consider tweaking or additional information that attendees would like to learn, they would recommend it, then this is where we learn that information from them. Okay, so Tina will cover now the guide to presenting.
So I think we're doing good on time. So if we have any questions prior to me starting my presentation on the guide to presenting, any questions about what I've already covered, any questions about what Bobby just covered?
We have no questions on record right now.
Okay. Do you want me to give him a few minutes? Okay. All right. So, the guide to presenting Money Smart for Adults. Those of you who are familiar with Money Smart, we've always had a guide to presenting. We've always said, hey, read that first so you can understand the Money Smart curriculum. Well, this time you really should pick up the guide to presenting Money Smart. It's full of several new resources. It practically tells you step by step how to use this new curriculum. We did, in 2017, we did have a version that you may have access to now, but this 2018 version replaces even the 2017 version. And with this version, we have learning principles for adults, how to support participants with disabilities, roadmaps, which I'll talk about a little further, about creating customized training, fun introductory what we call icebreakers or opening activities. You'll find that in the guide to presenting, and just so many new tools on how to work this new curriculum. So as I mentioned, the roadmaps. These roadmaps, and I think Bobby, in a couple of your slides, you mentioned it as well. But the key to the roadmaps is it just helps you plan your training. To put it as simple as possible, you have the option to take things from all of the 14 modules. You can build this by topic if you want. But the good thing about this curriculum now, we have already built several roadmaps that you can pick up and about a certain topic. Suggestive modules in different sections. For example, this roadmap right here includes 4 sections from 4 different modules that may be of interest. Say you're talking about spending. So we've pulled out modules, things from Module 3, Module 2, Module 4, and maybe Module 8. And they are all related to spending, and that may be the topic that you're teaching on. And we're giving you the time for each area so that you can build in. Someone mentioned earlier about your lunch and learn. This is what I was referring to. This is how you can go through the roadmaps that we have already created for you and assess if that works for you. Or we do have blank forms in the curriculum where you can build your own as an instructor, and for those things such as lunch and learns. One of the things we like to tell people is when you're building your presentations, make sure you incorporate that time for Q&A. If you have an hour presentation, you may want to make sure you have 45 minutes worth of information, excuse me, and then you allow 15 minutes for Q&A. The same with the supplemental scenarios for financial inclusion. We had a 2017 version. Excuse me.
And so we updated it for 2018. And so these are for those working with individuals with disabilities. The scenarios, these supplemental scenarios, are relevant for them. For example, they may need to modify their home. So one of the modules, one of the scenarios is related to the home ownership module. One is related to the saving module. One is related to borrowing. So it's there are examples in the curriculum, but we updated these scenarios specifically for those of you who may be working with people with disabilities so that they would be relevant. And again, as we mentioned, collaboration is key. And so we've worked with partners who specialize in working with people with disabilities to have them test these scenarios and to share feedback. Practitioners have shared feedback as these were developed.
Thanks, Bobby. You also need to have a person that can pick up for you whenever you get strangled. So again, this is just a summary of a lot of things that we've talked about. And the launch, 2018, full replacement of the Money Smart for Adults, instructor-led. Again, we issued a press release on November the 14th. We do have an upcoming train-the-trainer webinar scheduled for December the 13th. We can definitely share the link for that when we share the presentation. We send the presentation that one of the attendees requested, so that if you're interested in participating. We do plan to release a Braille version and a new self-paced version connected to the 14 curriculum, 14 modules starting 2019. Bobby mentioned that we would talk about how to connect with us even further. What other resources do we have? We have our Money Smart News. We use our Money Smart News often as a way to connect with others. You can view it online, or you can subscribe. When you subscribe to it, whenever a new version is released, you'll automatically receive an email with the link to review it. We love success stories. On the screen here, you have two success stories that were provided by users. One is best practices for teaching people with visual impairments, and the other was one bank's way of promoting financial education through summer employment. We welcome your submissions. We welcome your feedback. But we definitely like to hear your success stories. So if you feel you have a success story, we often pair our success stories with what we're featuring in our Money Smart News. So feel free to share them with us. Another way you can connect with us is joining our Money Smart Alliance program. Our Money Smart Alliance program is a very popular program. Our Alliance members, for instance, today, the reason we're here today is because OPM is part of our Alliance program. So this is something that we do as a resource for them, and also a way to market our Money Smart and update others on the new things that are happening with Money Smart. So we will provide you implementation ideas. You get calls where you can have peer-to-peer communications. So that's your way of finding out how others are using the Money Smart program, what's working well for them, and we have town hall calls for our Alliance participants. And recently, for our new launch, we had our Money Smart Alliance Advanced team. We call it MSAT. And that team was people who registered to be partners, and they are doing our promotion for the new product throughout 2019. There'll always be partners with us, but this is a special Alliance team. And what made this so great is they got to see the curriculum before anyone else. When we released, they got the press release before anyone else. They were able to test it and give us inputs, and we did go back and make a couple of the changes that were suggested through this program. So if you're interested in joining the Alliance, you can apply online at www.fdic.gov/MoneySmart. And here also, once you do that, it'll take you to a prompt where you'll see a feature that says Join the Money Smart Alliance. You can also go here as well to find the curriculum to download. We also feature our FDIC Consumer News, and this offers practical guidance on becoming a smarter, safer user of financial services. And so the Consumer News website is www.fdic.gov/consumers/consumer without the S /news. This is no longer we used to mail this out in hard copy. Will also be online only, and we will send you this as things come up. This is no particular, it used to be quarterly. Now, as articles are created, we send them out if you subscribe. Finally, how can you reach us? How can you get in touch with Bobby and myself? Community Affairs at FDIC.gov. And I'll reiterate, our Money Smart website is www.fdic.gov/MoneySmart. We thank you so much for sticking with us for this time, and we thank you that this is what live webcasts do. You get choked up, things happen, but we are happy to be with you today, and if you have questions, we're open to them.
Yes. So, Tina, while we're waiting for questions to come in, how does a person download the curriculum? You mentioned it was available for download.
So we do have a location where it says Order Money Smart. So you click on that, and it's step-by-step process. You select the, you don't even have to download the full curriculum. That's the great thing about how this process works. If you just want Module 14, you select Module 14, and then it says X, download. You hit it, download, and you can print it from your desktop. You can download it, and that's pretty much the gist of it. One of the questions we also may have is, we used to have CDs. We will have CDs for this curriculum as well. But for right now, you can download it directly at your desktop. All of our Money Smart products are available through immediate download.
Okay, I think you've answered all the questions that came through. They're all gearing toward more of downloading the product. So I think you guys answered all the questions.
Okay. All right.
And is there a cost to the curriculum?
Actually, it is free. Everything about Money Smart is free. Even us sitting here today, no cost. It's free. Money Smart, again, is free. It's easy to use. It's scripted. And there's no copyright. We do ask, however, if you want to co-brand it, we welcome that. But if you tweak anything, you just tear it up and tweak it, please remove FDIC from that version of that, and that can become your brand.
Okay. And so around our implementation ideas, I would also like to share that I mentioned hosting a lunch and learn, but you could also, as Tina mentioned, you can use the curriculum or some of the articles from the FDIC Consumer News in your newsletters. USOPM, again, We have been collaboration partners since 2008. And so we appreciate that Money Smart is one of the tools that they share with you to use in your financial education to employees. But if there's any way that we can assist you as you're developing your training, then please don't hesitate to reach out to us.
Okay, I have one more question. Someone wants to know if you guys go out to agencies and do this presentation.
So, yes, we conduct, we can follow up to conduct a overview with your agency. We will host, as Tina mentioned, some on virtual webinars ourselves. We participate in person. We do conduct some limited the trainer. We don't do a lot of direct to consumer anymore, but if you have something that you have coming up, if we can't send out staffing resources, we do have our alliance members are listed online. It is a searchable database, and as I mentioned earlier, we have our colleagues from around the country. They can also help us find someone to assist you with your training. But yes, we can come out and conduct a training such as this one that we've done today.
And also, if you're planning a conference or anything, we would gladly, if we have the resources, set up a booth and bring materials to share that way as well.
Okay, another question. Someone is saying that they just started the presentation. They would like to know where the link to download the information.
Okay, if you go to www.fdic.com/Money Smart, as Tina says, and then click on Money Smart for Adults, and you can see Order Money Smart, you should be able to then go to the online catalog, and you can download the curriculum directly.
And so for those of you who may have not gotten this, once you you can Google Money Smart, FDIC Money Smart, financial education. It will pop up for you. Once you get this presentation, most of these links in the presentation are live links, so you can select them and it will take you directly to the resource that you may be looking for as well.